course, it's Smiling Sam Alvey. He's not on construction site. He's actually at altitude 10 right now. I forget. I apologize, Sam. I forget you do all these crazy videos that kind of display your personality, display your genius, and your UFC Fight Night opponent 108 is Thales Leites, but you have like 14 different names for him, right?
Yeah. Well, his name sounds like everything, so we made a bunch. I flipped a bunch of coins, and it was Petter Talis. I was eating BLTs, a lot of BLTs. Bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwiches. And here in the next day or two, we're gonna have us little game of pin the Talis on the donkey. So,
Nice.
so I love my little videos. I try and do them forever. I keep hoping somebody eventually plays back with me. I don't mean anything meanly, but nobody ever plays back. I thought Elias Theodorou was going to play back, so I made a bunch for him, and he never once played back.
So how difficult is it to do? Because I think a lot of fighters are don't want to get into it because it's so difficult to get them edited and get them up. But how hard is it actually?
I use my phone, my camera phone. Usually I'm good for like one take. Sometimes I'll do two takes if my kids run in or a dog starts barking. But I just use my camera phone, and whatever pops into my head comes out.
That's awesome. They really are great. They really, and then it really, if you keep them up, I think it could lead into something. I don't know what, but it could lead into something for your retirement after fighting of another stream of income to come in. If you get enough viewers on it, so you got to keep them up. Those things they're absolutely genius.
Oh, I love them, I plan on keeping them up, and we'll see what happens with them.
Well, let's talk about lettuce and see. Talk to me about this fight. Like, how do you break down this fight? Because you know how I'm going to get into it, but how do you see it when you take a look at it?
The way I see it is I just fought Nate Marquardt, and they're very similar fighters. I think Leites is more willing to stand, but a little slicker with the jiu-jitsu, not as good with the wrestling, where Marquardt's got a little more wrestling, a little more dominating jiu-jitsu. So I think it's a fairly similar comparison between the two. And then, they fought years ago also. And that was a good fight. If you get a chance, rewatch that fight. It's not so long ago, it doesn't really matter to this fight, but it was still a good fight to watch. And so I liked the matchup. I did. I liked the matchup against Marquardt. And I'm pretty tickled with the same stylistic matchup with Leites.
So with the Marquardt fight, I gave Marquardt the edge in your fight when I did the final breakdown, and it was tough because
you were wrong once.
Well, I wasn't really wrong. I just wasn't as right as I could have been.
Oh, because I think you've been at 100% of my fights. That puts you at like 98%.
So hold on. We'll get there in a second. So with Marquardt, I gave him a slight edge because he's gonna like to bang, which is what you like to do as well. And I felt like he was more powerful. The only flaw that I saw in Marquardt was Sam's younger, and I hate bringing age into it because it's not really age. It's the mileage that people have to run through. And Marquardt's got a lot of mileage on his body. I was like, if Sam plays smart and forces him to have to be stressed, Marquardt have to stress as he fights, it's going to be difficult. Right, it's going to be really hard for Nate, and that's what you did. You made him stress out over where you were, how you're going to hit him, when you're going to hit him, because you kept hitting him in the middle of his punches. He'd start throwing a big melee of his big, he hooks. He doesn't do very much straight. Everything's very, very hooky. And so when he started hooking, you started beating him to the punch, and that made him stress, which made him lose energy, which obviously got you to the decision win because you kept putting him in that space. The only thought that I had during that fight was Nate will stay in there the entire time. You're not going to knock him out. You're not going to submit him. This is going to be a long, drawn-out war, and you worry about Nate with that punching power later in the rounds. All of a sudden, he's not going to knock you out. He's not going to one-punch knock you out. But if he tags you a little bit in the second, he tags you a little bit in the third, all of a sudden now you're starting to stumble a little bit and then you get to a TKO. But you brilliantly ran through that fight, and I do agree. Leites' fight is exactly the same fight. It's just it's a different body, a different skin tone on the skin, but that's it. It's the same exact fight. Do you think the UFC was looking at it like, okay, Sam beat Nate. If he beat Nate, he's probably going to beat Leites. Let's see what happens. Or are they looking at it like he got lucky against Nate? Let's see if we can stop his win streak now with Leites.
I don't know how much thought the UFC puts into it. I think we're both. I'm ranked now. I'm number 14. He's number 11. and I'm kind of climbing the ranks, and so he's getting, instead of him fighting up also like I am, he gets somebody who's back a little bit. And Leites' last fight was against Jotko, and it was not a good fight on his part. Jotko came out and just upset him from start to finish,
Yeah.
and I think I'm probably as far away from a Jotko as you can find. And so maybe it's more on the UFC's looking more what's a good fight for Leites than what's a good fight for me.
And you're what, 5-fight win streak right now? 6 feet?
Four fight.
Four fight win streak. And I mean, nothing shabby. Spice Lee, Casey, Nicholson, of course, Marquardt. And Marquardt obviously is the biggest name of those 4 fighters. But he wasn't the best fighter of those 4 guys. Who do you think was the best fighter of the 4 guys that you faced, the last 4 guys that you faced?
It surprised me how good Nicholson was.
Right.
It did. I was telling everyone, I said, if I don't get the knockout in this fight, I'm going to be upset. And lo and behold, he upset me in round 1, and then round 2 and 3, I had to catch up to him. So Nicholson was by far the best fight for me. And the other ones I finished kind of quick. Casey was probably the easiest. And then Spicy, I didn't know what to expect because he was just coming off the show. And I've been training with Spicy a little bit too. So yeah, he's a good dude. He's going to come out and train with Team Quest here for his next camp a little bit.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. So he's a good dude. I'm a big fan of his. Glad to see that he's beating everybody he's not supposed to.
Yeah, he really is upsetting people, and I believe that, to go back to your point, that Nicholson is the best fighter of the 4 against you. Now, I'm not saying that those 4 guys are the best fighters. That Nicholson's be the best fighter against somebody else, but for you, at the time when you fought each one of these gentlemen, that was the toughest fight for you. You really did have to come back from a round 1, and I really was like, holy crap! I totally thought that you're gonna walk right through this guy, and then we're in trouble in round 1. I kind of went around the corner and was like a dad, looking around the corner, I don't really want to see this fight because I don't know what's gonna happen. Now I'm gonna hang out back here, and it really showed how good you are at coming back from not only coming back from losing a round, like everyone loses a round, but coming back and winning the fight after losing a round, but you came back from, I'm supposed to be destroying this kid, and I lost a round. And so there's a big mental issue that you had to overcome to do that, and you seem to walk right through it. It wasn't any problems for you at all. I kind of think you might have that round with Leites too. There might be a round. I'm not sure it's going to be 1, 2, or 3, but there's probably going to be a round like that with Leites where all of a sudden he's going to get his momentum going. Is this something you work on in practice where you're like, okay, I'm behind the gun. Let's go figure out how I'm going to get the next 2 rounds?
More than practice, I've just got a ton of fights. I'm getting close to 50 fights right now, and so I've kind of been everywhere. And it's funny how I never thought experience matters that much, but it really does. One of the toughest fights I ever had, his name was Bill Hill, and this was, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, and he had a big 500 record. It was like 30-30 or something. And it was, in my head, it was supposed to be an easy fight. He's 30-30. He's lost 30 times. And it was one of the toughest fights I'd had. And that was the fight that kind of clicked. Experience matters. Leites has got a ton of experience. Not quite as much as me, but he's getting close. And then Marquardt actually had more experience than me. And at the end of the day, I think that was what happened to Alex in that fight, is he's only had 6 fights before me. So he didn't quite have the experience going the other way, where you win a round, you gotta stay ahead that next round. Then if you're gonna coast the 3rd round, if you're going to at all.
You're only 30, right? Am I correct?
Yeah, I turned 31 in a little less than a month, but I'm 30. Yeah.
Hold on, what's your birth date?
May 6th.
Oh, that's right, because I'm the 7th. That's right. Yeah. I remember now. So it's surprisingly how many fights you have for only being 30.
I look at it. Let's see. I'm 2 wins away from having more wins than Dan Henderson.
And that's a huge milestone. And for the folks at home that don't realize, Sam went to Team Quest because of Dan Henderson, and so he was with Dan his last 12 fights or whatever. He's been there forever.
Yeah, at least.
And with Dan retiring, it's like his patriarch walking away. So it was a big deal for Sam. So him to catch up to Dan's record, that's a huge deal. It's a really big deal.
I am stoked. It is fuel in the fire. This next fight of mine, it's setting 2 records. It's the most fights in the UFC in 1 year and the most wins in the UFC in 1 year. But it's also that I'm one fight away after I get this win away from tying Dan Henderson's win record.
There's a lot of emphasis being put right now on Demetrius Johnson, who fights this, at the time of this interview. He fights this weekend, and he's going to tie Anderson Silva's record for most amount of title defenses when he wins. And it's right now, like, I think so there's been a lot of changes. Obviously, we've seen a lot of people get let go. We've seen them, not only thin the roster with the new owners of the UFC, but they've also thinned the employees of the UFC. But I also noticed that one of the positive things that has come out with this whole thing is that they are paying attention to the records, like the numbers of what fighters are doing. Before, no one really cared what DJ was doing. They didn't really care that his numbers are coming up. DJ had to kind of say it to make people pay attention. Now they're putting it out there. Hey, this guy's about to tie Anderson Silva's record for most title defenses. Has there been any push for you? Because this is a pretty big deal. For the most amount of fights in a year, people don't realize that's a lot of goddamn fights to be able to beat. Because there's a lot of undercard guys, prelim guys that literally fight every 3 months. They give him a call, and now it's Sean Shelby, but it used to be Joe Silva. Would give him a call because yes, I'm ready to fight. Because they're on the prelim, nobody knows who they are. You're a known fighter, you're a ranked fighter, and you're about to break that record of most fights in a year and most wins in a year. That's a huge deal.
I'm stoked. I wish they'd play it up a little bit more. But as soon as I get my hand raised, I'm going to be preaching singing my own praises on that microphone. I'm going to make sure everybody knows because I am thrilled. And the cool thing is, I don't know if it'll happen, but I would love June 18th is 1 year. That's June 18th of last year. I fought Elias. I'd love to get one more before June 18th. Really solidify that record.
On April 21st or April 22nd, you got to get somebody in Joe Rogan's ear because he's going to obviously come in for the post-fight interview, right? You got to get someone getting in Joe Rogan's ear and go, hey, look, when Sam wins this fight, these are 2 records he's breaking at this point in time. So he'll bring it up in the post-fight interview. So when at weigh-ins on the 21st, you got to get somebody in Joe's ear and let him know this is what's happening. Send him a little note. Or, Fight Night, get somebody to get to Joe's ear and tell him.
Right.
Because Joe will raise that in the post-fight. Or even if you get to him on the 21st, he'll talk about it in the actual fight and hype it up a little bit.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be Brian Stan that's doing this fight. I think.
It's a fight night. You're right. I'm so sorry. It's a fight night.
No, that's all right. But Brian, he always calls me the week of the fight just to chat and see how things are going, and I'll definitely put a little bug in his ear.
I was just gonna say I have Joe and I have Brian's number. I would text them. Like I would text them and say, hey, look, by the way, this is what's gonna happen with Sam. But Brian does. He reaches out to every single fighter on the list, and that's one of the reasons why Brian is such a good commentator. He reaches out to every single guy, chats for about 20, 30 minutes with each guy before the fight goes off. Can you explain a little bit what Brian goes over when he's talking to you, when he calls you for the week of the fight?
It's usually pretty chill. It's 5-10 minute conversation. It's just about how camp was, if I changed anything, if I have any training partners special for this fight, it's stuff like that. So it's usually fairly basic. It's just a little background information on what I've been doing. Like this camp, I've gotten more scientific with everything. Like I'm doing the cryotherapy. I've got a chiropractor. I started doing CVAC, and then
CVAC.
They put you in I'll send you a text with a picture of it, but they put you in this pod, and then for 20 minutes at a time, the altitude changes, and so your ears just kind of pop like you're going in a plane.
Yep.
You do 2 or 3 a day, and it's supposed to help you walk on water or something.
I'm doing it. I don't know why. I'm just doing it.
Yeah,
it's more scientific.
Fernando Gonzalez, he's been doing it for a while, and he's just preaching it to me. So I'll give it a shot. So I've been doing that this camp, and then I'm still in my altitude tent because why not? I have it.
So how big is the altitude tent? Most people are like in a little tube when yours seems to be a little bit larger than that.
This one's huge. I've got a Cali King bed and a dresser in here, and I've still got room to walk and change and stuff.
Wow. Oh, so it's a whole room.
Yeah, it's a whole room, and it's a here I can kind of show you around a little bit. It's a big old room.
So how long does it take to get the pressure right in there?
It takes about 2 or 3 hours to get the pressure where you want it. I sleep at about 9,000 feet, and they say I'm supposed to spend 10 to 12 hours a day in the tent. So most of it's during the sleep. In the middle of the day, I'll come and chill in here.
Oh, you're the only fighter that I know of that has a full room. Most guys just have the little tubes. They go and take a nap and sleep a little bit. Watch a little. Watch a porn or whatever on their iPads or iPhones when they're in there. The only people that I actually know that do it consistently, that always are in elevation tents, that they're always like really, even in their off season, are cyclists. How did you come with the idea to get a full room as opposed to just having a little small tube to hang in like everybody else?
Honestly, this boy Craigslist. So we started looking at it, and these things are expensive. But I was fighting I got it after Mexico, before Colorado. Colorado was such a big fight. It was my first time fighting Nate Marquardt, a title contender years ago. So we were going to spend a little extra on camp, and now I have it, and it's nice. I really do feel a difference during camp. I feel better conditioned.
So what about like summertime? Air conditioning. If you're inside that big room, you can't have an air conditioning unit in there because it offsets the pressure. So how do you keep it cool enough to be able to sleep?
I haven't had it during the summer yet, so we'll see. If I'm going to be miserable at night, I'm not going to be sleeping in the tent.
Yeah, because that ruins your sleep patterns and screws everything else up. So the benefit you're getting is being offset by sweating your ass off.
Yeah, so I've only had it December, November till now.
Okay,
so
okay.
Had it during spring months.
Yes, through the winter. I'm wondering. I'm personally wondering because I have a bedroom that's easily sealable. Like I wouldn't have to have a full tent in there. All I have to do is close off the closet and the door, so I only need two strigs, and then I can put the whole. Because the building I live in, there's the windows are triple pane. So when I close the windows, they're sealed, and I don't have to worry about anything. So then all I have to do is worry about the door, which is put a plastic cover over the door, and then we have a big closet. So you have to put another piece over the closet, and then it seals everything off, so you're fine.
Oh, yeah.
And then put the machine in. Put a altitude machine inside, turn it on, and we're locked in. So it's just. And I was always wondering how bad is it going to be during the fucking summer when it's hot as shit. Like how am I going to survive in this thing?
Yeah, I'll let you know when we get there. We're in the process. We should be. We're buying my first home, and it should be closing either today or tomorrow. So when we get to this new house, I'll reset the tent up where I'm going to set it, and it'll be a little bit nicer space. And I might be able to get a good, decent air conditioning, and maybe that'll help. But I'll let you know as it gets hotter.
You just kind of glazed over it, man. That's a huge deal. Getting your first house is a huge deal. Congratulations, man. That's big.
Yeah, I'm thrilled. I've worked so hard for this, and my wife has, and it's so nice how it's finally coming together.
Wow. So, I mean, I don't want to get into your finances. I don't want to, too much that makes you uncomfortable. But did you have to take, like, how long did you have to save up for the down? Did you get more? Are you well over the 20% down because you saved up enough and got a good deal on the house, or is it?
We did get a good deal on the house. We got a short sale. So if it closes today, tomorrow it's worth, $30,000 more, which is pretty nice. Downside is we've been fighting with this short sale for like 4 months now, but it's finally within the last week. We're trying to close it before I go to Nashville. But the hard part wasn't the down payment. I've always been pretty good at saving, so I just, as a fighter, I've never had any money until I was with the UFC, and so I always had to. Then I got into UFC, and so it was real easy to save. I just kept the modest lifestyle, and so I had that. But my credit was terrible because of all the years of being a fighter and not having any money. So it's taken some time to build my credit, but I finally got that, and I paid taxes on like January 1st of this year. My credit's in very good shape right now, and it was after I paid taxes, it was easy to get the loan.
Wow, good for you. That's awesome. That's incredible. That's super exciting. And it's bigger than the place you're in now, and each all the kids got rooms, or they still have to double up, or how's it going to work out?
Yeah, we've got 4 bedrooms in the house I'm renting. We're going up to 5 bedrooms. We got a 3rd-car garage, and I'd like to turn that 3rd car into a room in itself. So when I have fighters come out of town, I can just stick them in the garage.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's kind of the plan. We'll see what my wife lets me get away with. But
so you still have a goal. I'll do as much as the wife says.
yeah.
Good for you.
But if I can get a fighter out here for 2-3 months, they'll pay for the taxes every year. Just
Yeah,
getting the fighters in my eyes.
yeah, makes sense. Yeah, it works. It gives them out of the garage, you know, their own way in and out. That actually worry about kids and waking people up and all that crap. That they're going to be fine. So that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah,
I'm super excited for you.
Thank you very much. We're pretty stoked, and it's all my wife's doing. Because I've been fighting so much lately, she's just taking over everything, which is wonderful. I sign on the dotted line when I need to, and she's handled almost everything else.
Well, the other thing is too is that allows you to be able to fight all the time because she is handling everything else. And that's the thing I talk about. You know, obviously in when I moved on to other things in life, that the one thing that you got to have is a great partner. You have to have a great partner while you do these things. If dragging or complaining or bitching or pulling you in different spots, you can't get anything done, and you get stressed out. You can't fight as much as you want to. You've obviously got a great partner in your wife. She handles everything. So all you have to do is go train, come home, and sleep in your tent, and that's all you got to worry about.
Yeah, and you know the nicest thing is she's already graduated college. She's got 2 degrees. She's ready to start her doctorate. But as long as I'm fighting and doing everything I'm doing this way, she's I'll just watch the kids, hang out with them, and you know she's already working on teaching the kids everything, working on the house, and she manages a couple fighters, and so she's plenty busy. But
Wow, that's awesome.
at any point she could go on for a doctorate or just start working out.
That's great. That's great. Well, Sam, I don't want to keep any longer, man. Thanks. Say again?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on, sir. And when you've got your official prediction for this fight, you let me know.
I'll actually text you before I put it out there publicly, but I'll let you know. It's for me right now. I'm leaning towards you, obviously, because the way you handle Marquardt, and it's a little bit different, obviously, because it's a different person, and the timing's going to be different, but it's pretty much the same fight as far as I'm looking at it. It's pretty much the same fight, and so you beat Nate pretty decisively. This is going to be another one of those. If you pull the same game plan, have the same mentality when you go into the fight, you should be okay. It's going to be really, no fight is easy, but it's going to be simple for us at home. Oh look how easy he beat him. It's going to be one of those fights, even though you're super stressed and you're trying not to get hit, but that's how it's going to go out.
Yeah. No, and that's kind of the game plan: is fight him the same way. I think he's a little slicker on the ground than Marquardt is. But his wrestling's way worse.
Yeah.
But based on my third round with Marquardt, where Marquardt got me down and got my back for 30 seconds, I think that's going to be a bigger part of his game. Try and get my back like Marquardt did. So just drag me down off the cage if he can.
Yep. He's going to try to keep on the ground as possible. Just because once he feels I'm not going to beat him in the stand-up, he's going to have to change games, and that's the interesting part of the fight.
Yeah.
All right, Sam.
Yep. And this, cool. Hey, thanks for having me, sir.
You got it, brother. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk later.
You too.